friendship. And I'm just going to briefly touch base on this because to me, intentional friendship is like the best part of this study. So in the world of singleness, years ago, specifically in America, you would go to church and you knew that guy. You know, you saw Nigel. We greeted on Sunday. We went on 3 mission trips. I know it was mom and his daddy. So, but when he finally goes, hey, I feel like God means us to be together. Well, we already know everything about each other. Well, to a point. But I know he's a good guy. I've seen him, his walk. I vetted him a long time ago. I know his mom and his daddy. But what happens when you're not in a church where there's the family? What happens when you haven't been there for 10 years? How do you know someone's real heart? So what happens is that we meet somebody the opposite sex and we do it like the world. We're like, hey. And we immediately apply it like the world. You flirt, you giggle, you're silly, you ask them out, and you immediately are looking to date them and you don't know them. They could be a psycho. So God gave me this word called intentional friendship. All it is a deep friendship. But it's designed for the way singles are today, okay? The way singles, how they meet each other. Now, obviously, a lot of singles meet online, but even if you meet online, you still need to apply this principle. I don't like it when it says online dating because you shouldn't be dating anybody. Dating should be for the purpose of, I believe this person is somebody I married. It's called intentional dating. Everything else should be friendship. Because once you exchange in saliva, once you're kissing somebody, you're holding their hands, you're being all silly, whatever, you've passed that point, And so to me, that needs to be reserved and held and saved for that person that God has for you, right? So intentional friendship is where you go into an agreement with the opposite sex that says, I'm feeling attracted to you. There's some things about you I really like. I'd like to get to know you better. And you have to explain it to them. What's better is if they've been in the study with you, then they already know about it. Okay, that helps. But you both go in agreement to get to know each other, but there's some guidelines. And why are there guidelines? Because I've done it wrong. I wrote it. So I had one guy where we only talked once a week. Not enough. One guy we talked 5 times a day. Too much. Right? Because you start to take like, everything you do, like, I wonder if he texted. 5 minutes later, what if he texted? Oh, okay, that's called dating. Actually, that's worse than that. I don't know what that is, right? People who are married that text that much. So I had to go through the mistakes of relationships to find out that you talk 2 times a week, maybe. You might have a coffee. It's not a date. I'm not picking you up. You're not picking me up. You're not paying. I'm not paying. It's just friendship. You can have more than one at the same time because it's just friendship. But you see potential. So you meet this guy, you meet this girl, you're like, I want to get to know them better, and I want to ask them some questions. Now, I have filtering questions. And I have filtering questions before I even get to the intentional friendship. So one of my big questions is, are you willing to move? And I may do it in a group like this. So let's say we're all sitting out, we're at dinner or lunch, whatever, and I'll start a filtering question in my group. They don't even know I'm doing it, okay? I'm going to say, so would you ever be willing to move for a relationship? Like if you met somebody online and they live, somewhere else, Ireland or somewhere, would you move? And if the guy, who I think is kind of cute, he's like, oh, heck no, I'm here. I've got my 5 kids. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not moving either. How many kids you got? I'm like, oh, it was nice knowing him. And so I'm like, because I'm not willing to move. I feel like God's got me where I'm supposed to be. And then I'll say something like, oh, you have how many children? Yes, I have like 5 kids that are all at home still. Like, how old are they? One's 40, one's 45. I'm like, that's like a concern. We don't think I would fit. I'd just be another kid living there, right? Yeah. So then I have another question is, my mother comes with. She's in my life. I take care of her. So she comes with, and, would you ever marry somebody and immediately got their family too? And there are men that said, no, I couldn't handle that. They don't know that I'm asking for me. But if they say it in a group, so I had one guy do that, and then later on he goes, I figured it was you. He said, I'm okay with your mom coming. Okay, I don't know if that's weird or what, but anyway, but she's a good cook, So then I ask questions like, I want to know about addictions. I want to know the last time you looked at porn. Now, people can lie, but I'm scared to death. I've heard so many horror stories. And women are also addicted to it, you know, or they look at it a lot. And so that's a question that's important to me. I want to know your story, your salvation story. Even if you say I've been a Christian since I was 5, I want to know what God has done for you in your life. What's your favorite scripture? How are you serving the Lord? If you say, well, before COVID, I'm like, what? It's been how many years since COVID? You should have been serving during COVID. So this, to me, are filtering questions for me. And if you don't pass those, I don't even want to have a conversation with you. I mean, I'll be your like a generic friend. I see it, some functions. But I'm not interested in going past that, okay? But let's say we pass all that. And it's like, you know, just like he loves the Lord, he's serving, he teaches small group, you know, he's healthy. Everybody I meet today has been married, so I just assume everybody's married. He's been married, he gets along with his ex-wife, he's got kids that are out of the house, they're healthy. And like, ching, 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 you know, marking, checking all the boxes. Then we might go into intentional friendship. And it can go from 1 month to 3 months because at some point in time, you're going to have a DTR. You're going to have to determine the relationship. You're going to kind of go, okay, are we making progress here? You know, are there any flags that have come up? The yellow flag is, oh, you were in prison? Okay. And for some people, that might be a red flag. But I'm going to ask another question. Like, when were you in prison? Oh, when I was 18, I stole some hubcaps. Oh, I don't care. But if you say my probation officer is about to call me, then you might ask another question. You might say, why? And they may say, well, because I was picketing abortion. Oh. You know, whatever, okay? So you got to ask more questions, right? So in case you don't know what to ask,